Salesforce development day 44. So today we are going to see the sharing record using the Apex sharing, and we will talk about the account sharing objects. We'll see the use case of it. And also we will talk about the Apex class sharing. Apex sharing is a different, Apex class sharing is a different. And then we'll have a trailhead links. Now, sharing record using the Apex sharing. Now, this is we have seen yesterday. We can share the information like whatever we have shared to the record is shared to the another object. It always stays into the share object. So it will be starts with the object name and then concatenation of share. So like a account share. So for each object, Salesforce will provide the share object by default as below. Now, if, for example, we have seen this yesterday, account, whatever we have shared the records on the account level, those all the shared records will be stored into the account share. Now, like a lead, contact share, lead share, case share. Similarly, if there is any custom object like a position __ C, will share if we are sharing any record. If we are sharing any record, then it will be shared to the record will be available position __ C. If it is a hiring manager __ C. Now let's say here, for example, let's say, for example, I'm into the account object. Let's go to the account object. In the account object, let's say that RD, the one which we have created, detail section, and click on the sharing button. Right now it is available to only one user. If you click on this view sharing hierarchy, the view sharing hierarchy will be there by default, it will be there. Now this is created by the Kishore Kumar, which has a full access and opportunity private. Let's say I'm going to share this record to the another user. Let's say I'm going to share with all users we have. Let's go ahead and check. Users. So we have Kishore Kumar. I'm going to share with Kishore Kumar, who is having a custom platform user. Or else I'll share with Melissa, Leonel Melissa. Now if I share the record, so let's say I'm going to share the read, edit, and click on save. Now this record is shared with Leonel Melissa. Now here, now for example, if I'm going to search, let's say I'm going to run the query on the share object, that means account share object. Click on open, and I'm going to talk about get the object here, share, account share. Click on open. Now ID, account ID, and the user group ID, account access level, opportunity access level, case access level, contact access level, and row access. Click on query. Now if I click on execute, it will give me the all the record, but only if I wanted to get the specific ID, where the account ID equal to, this is the ID I'm passing it. Now if I try to execute it, it is going to give me the information. There are two members, users are there. This is the users level. These are the two different users we have. user or a group ID. And if you copy this, and anything and replace the ID here. Press 005. Now this user is April batch is the one who is getting the one person who has created the access, and similarly another user. Now copy this user. Now let's paste this user here. This is the Leonard Melissa. So these are the two users, right? So whoever is created, that person is the owner of it, the batch, April batch. Owner of it, access level for the account is all, opportunity case contact is a edit. Whereas we have a second one, Melissa. For this, we have a edit access on the account, and opportunity access is none, for the case is none, contact is edit access, and this is manually shared. So this is how we can see the data in the account share object. Similarly, if you are working on any other object, just use that object name and concatenate with share. So you can see all the records. If you are interested in only specific record to know that this record is shared with which all are users, you will know that by running the query. Now let's say here account object. In the account object contains the account record sharing details, right? So let's say fields are account ID. Now the fields which we have seen is account ID, user group ID. Now account ID is, it contains the account record ID which has been shared or created. User or a group ID is nothing but it contains the user ID, public group ID to whom the record has been shared. Now user ID is 005 and public group ID is 00Z. Right, so you can check based on this first three letters. Now what is the account access level? It's basically it contains the level of access that granted to the user, like a read-only access or a read-write access or full access. Now, similarly, we have a opportunity access level. It contains the access level of that is granted for the opportunity record, like a read-only or read-edit access or full access. Similarly, case access level also we have. So it contains the what are the granted records, like what is the access level that we have granted on the case record. It will be available like a read only, read write, and full access. Row access, row cause is basically it contains the reason for sharing. What is the reason for sharing? Right? Row cause is whether it is a owner or a manual. What is the reason for sharing? So that contains at the row level. Manual is nothing but a manual sharing. Owner is nothing but a owner of the record. Rule is nothing but it's based on the sharing rule. Based on the sharing rule, it is shared. Let's say one of the use case here, configure the automate sharing process to share the record to the selected user dynamically at runtime based on the lookup field. Now, if you go to the account object, in the account, we have one of the field called let's go to the edit object. Let's check in the object level. Fields and relationship. Do we have a share to? Now, this field is not available. It's not there. So requirement says is configure a automate sharing process to share the record to the selected user dynamically at runtime based on the lookup field. That means on the account level, I'll be creating a one lookup field. This lookup field is looking for the user. And whatever the user is selected during the creation of the record. So for that user, we need to grant the edit access to the user if the account record is annual revenue is more than 50 lakhs, else give the read-only access. Let's see that. Now first I need to create a new field on the account level. Now let's say this field is lookup relationship field. Click on the next button. And the object is user object. User is the object. Click on the next. Now field name is share2. It's not mandatory. Click on the next button. And by default, we are sharing the access to the profiles. It is added to the layout. Click on save. Let's refresh. We have a share to field is available and then annual revenue. So here is the annual revenue. If the annual revenue is greater than 50 lakhs, then it should be shared to the whoever is a share to person is there. We should share to the that user, and we have to give a read-only access if it is a less than 50 lakhs. If it is a greater than 50 lakhs, then we need to give the read and edit access. Now let's go ahead and implement this scenario. Now, in order to implement this scenario, we are going to implement a trigger. In the trigger, we are going to implement a sharing. Now, first what I'll do is I'll implement the handler class. Initially, I'll implement the handler class. So for that, we'll create a Apex class. Let's say here, share account holder, share account handler. Click on enter. Now, as soon as it is inserted, we need to capture the information. So I'm going to implement here the method which says public static void after insert. In this after insert, we'll say here, we are going to get the list of the accounts, list of account ACC list. For this ACC list, now we are going to go through the each record for account ACC colon. What are the ACC list is there? We'll go through the each ACC list. Now, in this case, I'll check if account share to field. What are the share to field is there? Dot share to is not equal to null. If it is not equal to null, now the first thing which we want to do is I wanted to create a account share. I have to create account share. So for this account share, let's say here I'm going to say account share ACC share equal to new account share, because we are going to share the record. Share the record. Account share. If we are sharing the record, I need to use the 4 fields. One is account ID, user or a group ID, account access level, and then row class, what is the edit or manual, and the opportunity case, everything I need to give. Let's say here ACC dot user or AC share dot user or a group ID, user or group ID. Let's say who is the user ID? User ID is whatever the data is entered in the account level. Share to value is there. That's the same person is the user ID. And next one will have a ACC share dot row class, row cost equal to, let's say it is a manual. ACC share dot opportunity access level equal to whether do I wanted to give a read access or edit access. Let's say I'm going to give the read access. Similarly, ACC share dot case access level equal to read access. Now, at the same time, I need to give the account ID. So here ACC share dot account ID equal to ACC dot ID. ACC dot ID. No, we are going to share the record. Initially, it will be read access, but here we have a condition. The condition is a 50 lakhs. That means if it is a greater than or equal to 50 lakhs, then we have to give the edit access. Otherwise, we have to give the read access at the account level. Now, opportunity level, it's a read access, but we have a account level. So there are multiple access are there. So account level, opportunity level, case, contact, right? So account level, I wanted to give edit and read based on the annual revenue. So let's say here, if whatever the annual revenue is there, ACC dot annual revenue, if it is a greater than or equal to 50 lakhs. If it is a greater than 50 lakhs, then we are going to give the ACC share dot account access level is equal to edit access. Else, then I'll give the account share dot account access level equal to read access. Equal to read access. Once this is done, now this is for the multiple records it will execute. So what I'll do is I'll create a list on top account share and this is the account share list equal to new list of account share. Now I'm going to use this to add each record here. Dot add ACC share. Now finally the for loop will end. After the for loop, then we are going to check if ACC share list is not empty. If it is not empty, then we are going to say database.insert. Database.insert. And we are going to use the account share list. from false. So this is the logic that we have written, right? So this is the logic here. Problem here. Method does not exist.
Is my S is missing.
Is empty. Click on save. Now, what is this logic? This is to handle the, basically this logic is at the rate description. Apex class, handler class, let's say handler class. Used for account sharing based on share to field and annual revenue field. So this is the class. Now I'm going to create a trigger. From the trigger, we are going to call the handler class. Now here we are going to create it, file, new, Apex trigger. Now let's say here trigger is, I'm going to create a trigger on account. Now I might be already having a trigger on account, file, open resource, account trigger. We already have a here. For update and before delete. Now I'm going to implement another one which is called after insert. After insert. For the after insert, here we are going to say if trigger dot is after and trigger dot is insert. If this is the case, then I'm going to call the class which is called as a share account handler dot after insert. Then I'm going to pass the values, which is a list of the values which is available in the trigger.me. Now this is the. Now let's go ahead and create a record. So now whenever the record is created, if I specify the share to and the based on the annual revenue, it gets shared to the person. Go to the account, click on new account, customer account, click on this, next. Let's say here, I'm going to give the name of this is the ApexSharing. Equal to 1, account number, Apex 001, and annual revenue is, let's say, 60 lakhs. And share to is the users, let's say Melissa. And create a user. Annual revenue is their email ID, samskarit@gmail.com. Perfect. Now let's click on save. Now this account is created. Now click on the share button. Now it is shared to the 2 members. Usually it says that share to 1 person. Now we have implemented a trigger. In the trigger, we have implemented the sharing concept. So now it says that it is shared to two persons. Now here it is Leoniel is a user read write, and this is the read only and read only. Now if you wanted to see the user, view the sharing hierarchy. In the sharing hierarchy, Melissa is read write and read only, read only. If I click on the view details, now it is going to share manual sharing, self and read write. Because we have mentioned here manual. In the class, we have mentioned manual, row cause is manual. So that's the reason it is saying the manual. Now it is giving the read access. Read and edit access, right? Because the annual revenue we have given the 60 lakh. Similarly, on the update also, if you wanted to do it, let's say I'm going to create another one file. Let's clone this. I don't have an option to clone. Click on new customer account. Let's click on ApexSharing one. Account number Apex 002. And the industry is apparel and email ID samskara it@gmail.com. Annual revenue is, let's say, 30 lakhs, or let's give 30 lakhs. And share to will be the, this time I'm going to select Kishore. Now click on save. Now Apex sharing one is created. Now let's click on the sharing option. Click on this sharing. Now it says two members, and in these two members, the second person is Kishore Kumar, read-only access. It's just a read-only access because the annual revenue which we have given is a 30 lakhs. Now, if you want to do it on the update level, same thing you have to do it. Only the thing is that here instead of a insert, you need to say insert and update. Both the times you have to update it. Now based on that, but in update, what we have to do is you need to remove the access to the existing user. So on update, this is assignment. Same thing you have to do it on the update. This is after update. In after update, remove the, in after update, what you will do, you will check whether the new share to field is not same as the old one. It is not same as the old one. Then what we have to do is delete the access for old user, old share to user. Add the access to the new share to user. This is the assignment. You just need to delete the record for that particular user from the account share. And rest all things are same. So rest all things are, you need to add the new record in the account share. So if we are updating from the old to new, then in that case, it should be only for the new user should have access, old one should be removed it. So that is the assignment, you have to do the assignment. And next homework is configure an automated sharing process to share the record to the selected role and responsibility dynamically at runtime. So that means you need to create a field. That field should hold the text field or text field. So it will have a role and subordinate. You need to enter in that field role and subordinate and grant the edit access to the role if the lead record annual revenue is more than 50,000, or else just give the read-only access to the lead record. So the prerequisite is you need to create a text field, share record. So this is a 18-digit field. In this 18-digit field, just specify the role ID. You need to specify the role ID or a role and subordinate. If it is a lead share, what are the fields will be there? Now you can check here, file, open. Now let's say here share. Now click on this lead share. Open. In lead share, we have a ID, lead ID, user ID, lead level access, row costs. Only these are there. Click on query. Now execute it. These are the records which are available. All these are owners. Lead share does not have a account access level or a opportunity access level or case access level or contact access level. Only at the account level, we have that access level. That's the homework. And the next one is, there is another one. When user update the existing record, annual revenue share to annual revenue updated or a decreased or increased, update the sharing. So this is exactly which I have given. Level of access, update the share to or remove the old user, add a new user. So there should be some update should be happen on the share to. If there is a update, then you need to write the previous shared record should be deleted and new user should be shared to the new user should have access to the shared record. And prerequisite is after insert logic need to be implemented for account share. Start the next topic. Now here sharing mechanism is done. And the next one is the ApexClassSharing. ApexClassSharing. So this is a different. ApexClassSharing is different. Whatever so far we have discussed about the object level share. Object level share we have discussed. Now we are discussing about the ApexClassSharing. ApexClassSharing is, for example, there are two types of a sharing, with sharing and without sharing. With sharing and without sharing. Now, with sharing is nothing but user mode. It will always run into the user mode or a user context. Without sharing is, it always runs into the system mode and system context. Sharing without sharing are the specified at the class level. You need to specify at the class level upon creating the Apex class. Now just take a notes of it with sharing and without sharing. With sharing is a user mode, user context, and without sharing is a system mode and system context. with sharing and without sharing are these specified at the class level. Now, upon creating the Apex class, we need to specify either with sharing or without sharing. Syntax is access modifier class name. So far, we have written like this. Now, if you look at the one which we have implemented, so scheduled class, so it says public class name, access modifier class name. Similarly, we have a access modifier class name. Now, for the with sharing and without sharing, we have to specify either here after the access modifier, we need to specify with sharing or without sharing after the access modifier. Then within this, we have to write the business logic. Now, example, public class account helper. This is normally how do we write it, right? Now here, when we have not specified anything, so far we have not specified anything. When we do not specify here, public class name, I did not specify here whether it is a with sharing or without sharing. If I do not specify by default, it will take it as a without sharing. By default, it will take it as a without sharing. Now, public with sharing, if you want with sharing, you have to specify the with sharing. If you do not want with sharing, either specify without sharing or else just leave the blank. When I leave the blank, it is without sharing. In the Apex class sharing, for example, account object, OWD is a private. When it is a private, I have two users, user 1 and user 2. User 1 has a account access and user 1 is created the 20 records. And user 2 is also having access to the account and user 2 is created the 7 records. User 1 is created the 20 records and user 2 is created the 7 records. Now, that means total we have 27 records are there. Now, when we implement a Visualforce page, in the Visualforce page, it shows the account page. Now, for example, here we are showing the account page which displays using the Apex class. We have written the class here, public class account helper. And we are getting the entire data of the account object using the SQL query and sending into the Visualforce page. Now here, view user 1, how many records it will be visible, or user 2, how many records it will be visible. Now user 1 will have 20 records. Is the user 1 will be able to see all 27 records or only 20 records? Or only 20 records. Is user 2, when they run the Visualforce page, will they able to see the record 7 records or 20 records or 27 records? User 2, what they will see. Now let's see the scenario for this. Let's say I'm going to implement a Visualforce page. File, new Visualforce page. Now, this Visualforce page, I'm just creating here ApexClassSharing. So let's say this is VF sharing. VF sharing, by default, it will be Apex page. Right, so we know this, we have already seen, but still on the Apex page level, we have a sidebar. If you do not want a sidebar, you can display this as a false. Similarly, we have a show header. Show header. If you do not want a show header, let's simply say false. And you want a tab style. If you want a tab style, that means here, if you see here, let's go to the classic. Let me show you here, which is a positions. Let's click on position. Right, so we have a different icons are available. Now in classic, you will see this. Switch to classic. I go to the price book. Now it is a different color. If I go to the product, it's a different color. If I go to the solution, it's a different color. If I go to the cases, this is different color. Right, so do you want any tab style? Like let's say here I have some custom objects, which is a position. On this position, now this position is having the different color. Now how do you want your, what are the visual force you are implementing it? How do you want your page tab or a page style, tab style? How do you want it? Let's say I want it similar like a position. I'm going to create a developer tab style here. Let's say it should be similar to the position object. Now within this, I'm going to select here Apex section header, Apex section header, and let's say title equal to, we are going to say account, and subtitle equal to, let's say all accounts, Once this is done, let's implement the Apex form, Apex form. Inside this, we are going to implement Apex page block. Page block title equal to all accounts, page block. Now let's click on save. Now for this visual force page, I'm going to pass the controller. That means from the Apex, we are going to send an email, send a message, or send a information to the visual force page. Now I have implemented a visual force page, and I'm going to implement a Apex class. Click on File, New, Apex class. Let's say show all account records. Show all account records. Now here, I'm not specifying whether it is a with sharing or without sharing. If I do not specify, by default, it will take it as a without sharing. Now let's say here, I'm going to declare it public list of account, or I'm going to create a method here, public. Let's say I'm going to create just a constructor. I'll create it because we are not doing anything here. We are just simply doing the getting the records from the database. So as soon as the class is called, I wanted to load the data. Now let's say here AccessList, a list of account, AccessList equal to, I'm going to get a different information here. Now let's say I'm going to get the select. ID, comma, name, comma, industry, comma, annual revenue, type, and active field. _ C from account. let's say order by name. So simply I need a list of the account class, list of the account. Now I'm getting the list of the account in the constructor. Now this class we need to call it from the Visualforce page. In order to call the ApexController from the Visualforce page, we have in the Apex page, we need to say controller. It has a controller equal to specify the class name. Show all accounts. So what happened right now in the, let's go to the paint. In paint, we have one is Visualforce page, which we have implemented. Another one is a Apex class, which we have implemented. This is a Visualforce page. And the another one which we have Apex class. In Apex class, I'm simply querying the data. Querying the account data. Now, Visualforce page is basically this is for the UI purpose, where I have to display all the reports. Now, in this UI, if I have to display all accounts, now if I wanted to display the all accounts, somebody has to provide the list for the Visualforce page. Who is that? Now, Apex class is going to provide the list to the Visualforce page. That means I need to call the Apex class from the Visualforce page. If I wanted to call the Apex class from the Visualforce page, we have to use in the Visualforce page at the Apex colon on the page level, we need to specify the controller equal to, we need to specify the Apex class name. Whatever the Apex class name is there, we have to specify. Now, whenever we are calling the Apex class on the execution of the Apex class. Now, what do we want? We want to send the list, whatever in the Apex class, the list is there, list information. If I have to send the list information, it is calling the constructor here. But from the Visualforce page, whenever we call it the Apex class should say that, okay, this is the field that I'm sending, or this is the field that I'm receiving it, or you set this field. So we need to specify the get and set in the Apex class. So public list of account ACC list. Now this list we are providing to the Visualforce page. If you have a get and set, then only Visualforce page is able to retrieve the information that is stored into the ACC list. Otherwise, Visualforce page will not be able to retrieve the information whatever we have written. Now, whenever you are sending a certain information from the Apex to Visualforce page, or from the Visualforce page, you are retrieving a certain data. In that case, you need to declare the get and set. Get is nothing but to get the information from the Apex class. Set is nothing but whatever is entered by the user in the Visualforce page, those data set it into the Apex variable. Now we need to use the set and get. Now here I'm saying that list of the account ACC list, now which is going to get and set, which is going to send the information to the Visualforce page. Now in the Visualforce page, let's go to the Visualforce page. Now in the Visualforce page, we are going to specify here. Now within the accounts, I'm going to specify, call the page block table. Apex colon, I'm going to implement a table here, page block table. Within this, let's specify here value equal to Now we are going to get what is the variable that we are going to get. The variable which we are getting is AccessList. Whenever we are getting the variable from the Apex class, it has to be within the curly braces exclamation AccessList. Curly braces exclamation AccessList, and then we will specify here var equal to ACC. That's the variable name. Now within the table, I'm going to use the column Apex column. Now here the column, in the column, we need to get the value. So values we are going to get it from the based on the variable name. Now here the variable name is ACC. So curly braces exclamation ACC dot name. Now it's one column. Similarly, I'm going to implement multiple columns here. Now, what are the fields that we are getting here? Name, industry, annual revenue, type, active checkbox, active quick list field. Now these are the fields which we are showing on the Visual Force. This is the fields which we are showing on the Visual Force. Now what I'll do is I'm going to click on preview button. If I click on a preview button, let's see whether it is displaying all the information or not. I clicked on the preview button as a admin. Now it is showing all the details. Now it is very difficult for me to identify the count of the account records. So what I'll do is I'll go to the developer console. Let's say I'm going to specify here colon curly braces exclamation account, whatever the ACC list is there, ACC list dot size. Provide me the size, and this size has to be within the bracket. One sec. And got refresh. Now total 80 records are there. Total 80 records we have. Now this is as an admin, we are able to see 18 records. Now copy this. Now let's log in as another user. Let's say I'm going to log in as different user. Users. Let's say I'm going to log in as Kishore Kumar. Click on login. Refresh. Now the user, if I click on the account, if I search here accounts, click on the accounts. Click on all customer. Now how many records they are able to see? Total 80 records they are able to see. Now the reason is we have shared the previous one. Now let's say here 80 records, and this person is also able to see 80 records. So let's log out. Let me log in as a different user. Now let me log in as standard platform user, Gautami. Login. On this accounts, on all accounts or all customers. Now, how many are there? Only one record she can see. If I check the filter is also, let's check the filter by owner all accounts. Now this is the all customers. Now that's all she can see the information. At only one record, Gautami can see the information. No. So right now I'll copy this record and I'll try to access as this user. Click on this, select, enter the Visualforce page. Now, when we are trying to enter the Visualforce page, it says that insufficient access. It says insufficient access. The reason for the insufficient access is, first of all, we need to share the Visualforce page. We need to share the Visualforce page to the Gautami. By default, all the users, whatever the admin has created the Visualforce pages, nobody can see those pages. Now, what we have to do for that profile, go to the standard platform user, go to that profile. Now, in this profile, click on Visualforce. Now, these are the profiles, Visualforce page access. Now, click on the edit. Now, we have created a VF share. Now, I wanted to give access to the VF share. VF sharing. Give access to the VF sharing, click on it, save. Perfect. Click on save, again go back. And let's check the Visualforce page access. Let's confirm it, whether it is shared or not. Now we have a VF sharing. Now this is perfect. Now let's log in as a Gautami again. Now I logged in as a Gautami. I'm going to share. I'm going to open up the Visualforce page. Now, if I open up the Visualforce page, now they are seeing the 80. This is without any sharing. That means default view. Now let's say here I'm going to change the option. Log out. Now in the development, logging back. development. Now here I'm going to, in class, I'm going to specify public with sharing. Space. I have implemented with sharing. Now let's log in as a Gautami. Now select here, click on view, click on this. Now how many records I can see? Only one record. Why? Whenever I mention without sharing, what is the reason that it could see all the information? Because without sharing is runs on the user mode. Without sharing runs on the system mode. With sharing is runs on the user mode. Now, whenever I select the with sharing, whenever I enter the with sharing in the class, what happened? Immediately it changed the view from the system mode to the user mode. That means whatever the access the user is having it, only those records will be displayed when we mention the with sharing. Now, without sharing is it doesn't care about the sharing. Now, whether you have access or not, it does not care. Now, without sharing is nothing but by default, what system have access. Now, system, whatever the access is available at the system level, those all records will be shown to all the users. So without sharing is nothing but is a system mode. It doesn't care about the user sharing. Now, when you say with sharing, it will be restricted based on the user. Whatever the user access is available, only those records will be saved. That's about the Apex class with sharing and without sharing. So when we have a normal class, if it is a normal class, it will be shared to all the 27 records viewed by the user 1 and user 2. If I mention the with sharing, user 1 can see only the 20 records, user 2 can see only the 7 records. They cannot see all the records. Now, in case if inner class is declared as a with sharing and the top level class is declared as a without sharing, then the entire context will run in a with sharing. If you have anything inner sharing is with sharing, your entire context will run in the with sharing. Now, outer class is declared as a with sharing and inner class is declared as a without sharing. Then inner class will execute as it is, like a without sharing only. Inner class do not take the sharing property from the outer class. So whatever the inner class has, only it will work on those inner class. It will not take the outer class one. Now that's about the sharing mechanism. Now next thing we are going to talk about. Let's talk about the model view controller. Salesforce MVC, this is a MVC architecture. MVC is nothing but model view controller. This is the architecture in Salesforce. Basically, it is when we say model view controller is, we think this is something different or this is some huge topic. Basically, MVC is a software pattern. It's usually call it as it's a software pattern. Now, why we need this software pattern? Basically, using this software pattern, we can separate the representation of the information. In order to separate the information, whatever the information from the users we are receiving it. Now, what are the information it received? Now, how can we interact to separate the information from the user and store the information. In order to separate this, we have a model view controller. Now in the model view controller, now let's say here we have this is a model and view and then controller. Controller. Right. So model view controller. Now we know that model is nothing but we are updating it. Right. Now I'll talk about each one of them. Model. What is the model? Model is nothing but it's a database layer. Model is nothing but a database layer. In the database, this is the database level, and the view is nothing but user interface layer. View is nothing but user interface layer. Controller is nothing but business logic. Business logic layer. Now we have a database layer, UI layer, and business layer, business logic layer. Now in this, in the database layer, what will be there? That means in the model, what will be there? In the view, what will be there? And in the controller, what will be there? Now, when I say business logic layer is nothing but here, let's assume that we have a user. We have a user who is reviewing the information. Let's say that this is a user. Right, so this is the user. Now this user, the person can do, whether the person can see the controller, that means whatever the business logic layer is there, will that person can see the controller information. Now in the controller means it will have a object like a standard controller, custom controller, right? Whatever the controllers are there, all the controller. Now in this case, whatever we are doing the updates here, now whatever the updates we are doing on the controller level, that can be updated on the database level. That means we can see here manipulation, whatever the manipulation we are doing on the controller. On the controller level, whatever the manipulation is we are doing it, all the manipulation can be updated on the model level. That means we are updating at the database. Like I'm writing some business logic in the controller, and this business logic, whatever the data we are updating it, modifying it, or inserting it, whatever the manipulation we are doing it, everything get inserted into the database. Once it is inserted into the database, then this data will be reflected on the UI level. This data will be reflected on the UI level. That means updates is going to happen on the UI level. Now, UI level, whatever the updates are happening on the UI level, immediately the user can see on the UI layout. That means user can see the information, what is the changes are happening. In case if again one more time user is updating something on the UI. So whenever it is updated on the UI level, it goes to the controller, and then from the controller, it goes back to the model and then it will update it. Right. So in the controller, we have a standard controller, which is provided by the Salesforce. And then we have a custom controller. Custom controllers are in the Apex. Right. Now this is in the Apex. Whereas in the model we have a database layers. Now, whatever is available, the database layer is nothing but a standard objects or a custom objects. All the objects details or the user details will be stored into the data layer. And then we have a view. View is nothing but view can be happen using the standard pages. Whatever the Salesforce is providing, the standard pages, or else the view can be happen on the Visual Force pages or a Lightning Aura or LWC or LWC. Now in this model data layer, the model data layer is basically it's a schema and data inside the Salesforce. Right, so all the schema level, data Salesforce level, everything can be stored into the model level. So we can say in the in Salesforce, we can say that S object are the models. Now all the S objects are the models. Like it could be a standard object or it could be a custom object. So basically it is a data model for all the object. Now view is nothing but user interface, like how the schema and data are represented to the user. How the user can visualize it, how can user can see the information. Now the controller is nothing but how can we implement a logic, interface logic or actions controllers, or if I have to perform some logic, right? So anything that needs to be implemented, the business logic, everything can be done in the controller. Now in SFDC, basically by using this, now whatever we have done in Salesforce, I have implemented a Visual Force page. Now this Visual Force page is a UI. Visual Force page is UI. For this, we have implemented at the backend controller. Right now at the backend, I have implemented a Apex. There is a Apex class which I have implemented. Now this Apex class is some sharing account share is the object which we have implemented. Share all accounts. Share all accounts. Let's see what is the class name. Show all account records. So this is the Apex class which we have implemented. Now whatever we have implemented the Apex class, ultimately it will store it into the database. Right? It will store it into the database because we have an object called Apex object. Apex classes object is there. All the Apex classes of object, all the records will be stored into the Apex classes object. Now, once it is stored into the here, now whenever the user is viewing the data, whenever user is clicked on the Visual Force page, now they will click on the Visual Force page to view the UI. So whenever they clicked on the Visual Force page, all this, whatever the controller logic and whatever the data is stored into the database, everything can be displayed on the UI level. Now user can see the information. Now user can see the information. So this is all about the model view controller. Now in simple terminology, now what is the benefit of using the Salesforce? Like, let's see what is the benefit. Benefits of using the Salesforce MVC architecture. Now, the first thing is a reliability. Because whatever the layers we have, right? We have a different layers, business logic layer, database layer, and user interface layer. Whatever these layers we have will have a clear separation to this. Now, if I wanted to implement a pages, then I need to go to the UI layer. If I have to implement a business logic, I need to go to the controller, which is a business logic layer. So these layers have a clear separation so that it allows the whatever I can maintain it in the UI layer, only that part can be maintained. So if we have a separation, then the execution or the performance will be huge and it allows the good reliability. And the backend also, when the Salesforce is storing the information, it stores into the layer wise. It can change for example, if I have a scenario like we wanted to change the look and feel on the application, that means without recompiling the model and controller, I can simply work on the view. right? So if I have a scenario that I need to change some layout or some look and feel, I need to change it. Now for changing the look and feel, I need not to touch the model and database. That means I need not to touch the business logic. I need not to touch the database. Only the touch which I have to do is on the UI layer. So because of this separation, my work is also separated. I need not to touch multiple places. Only one place I can touch it. And the second one is reuse. Now, because of this multiple type of a view, like we can access the same code in multiple places. Now, what are the business logic that I'm implementing the logic? I can use that, the code, reuse the code in wherever it is required, right? So reuse, definitely it is there. And easy to maintain. As we have a separate thing, it is a easy to maintain. It's based on the requirement, only the change, only the part or only the layer which we wanted to make the changes, only that part we can change it. It is a easy to maintain. So when we have a easy to maintain and a reuse reliability, definitely that will happen. Low development, it will be cost of the life cycle will be the low. So that means very low development and life cycle cost is less. Life cycle cost is also less. So every time you need not to maintain the multiple things, or you need not to maintain the multiple ways. So whatever the focused one is there, you can just make the focused layer changes, rest all will be as it is. So these are the benefits of the MVC architecture.